Well, thank you very much. That is amazing. A lot of drawings and a lot of amazing photos as well. Um, and I think I said it in the introductory as well. There are the website.
Uh-huh.
As you said, you can check for his work, but
Yeah.
if you have an extensive or extension, how is it called in Google, you can also translate all the text.
Yes, yes,
So that
yes,
means
of
that you can
course.
actually read all the articles published on it, and I did so, and well, not read all of it, of course, but
Yeah.
I saw that you can actually just translate everything, and you can see
Mm,
everything. So it's really worth visiting that
mm.
website. For now, as you said, are there questions? I do have one, but maybe perhaps people will join.
Sure.
I'll start my question. I was wondering because you talked, of course, extensively about the relationship, but like the closeness of Sukarno and Silaban.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you knew if something was maybe written or you saw something like words of praise. Do you know specifically what he was thinking about the architectural style of the architect? Do you know anything about what was his appreciation?
Well, he refer a lot. I got uh what his thinking by running through his memoirs, things that he wrote on his notebooks, and some articles that he managed to wrote. He didn't write a lot for Indonesian public, but through his notes and so many things, he opted a style, the the style that he only managed to carry it on in the 1960s. He opted for almost exclusively for modern architecture, because of his choice of not um, trying to be away, as the distance away from the vernacular style or things that can be easily associated with particular ethnic group in Indonesia,
Yeah.
because it probably very quite sensitive to be able to distance away, and to not only to distance away from Indonesian ethnic architectural elements, but also the distance away from the tendency of the certain Dutch architect, just like the Antonissen, his stepfather, while designing the Orientalist kind of building for the festival in Batavia, because I think he probably not consciously think that the the design that express similarities with the probably with the Joglo roof of Javanese people, like the Toba Batak from North Sumatra, can be easily associated with the style that the Dutch architects would would suggest uh, to Indonesia. But the aspiration of Indonesia as a modern, newly independent, and also in par with other Western societies, the the he directly employed the architectural modern style. So he kind of often to express that in his notebooks, especially when he was involved in the competition of the national most, the second competition that he was appointed not as a participant but as a jury. It's a very long story, but he managed to be elected as the jury, and he defended certain kind of proposals, while he also against the some choices made by other jury because of the like uh, likeness of the some elements. He didn't really picture or really how the monuments design looked like, but he really opposed of people using sentimentalities and ethnic forms in national monument, especially in national monument, because it has to be something neutral, something that binds us together, but it can be also something that is introduced from 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 uh, from outside of the country, of course, something like that. So he kind of expressed that emotionally with against other jury. in one session. So, and he also managed to wrote an article about why and why he designed things like that in back in 1982, 2 years before he died. He managed to explain to the in the Congress of the Indonesian Institute of Architects that the main the most important thing of an Indonesian architectural identity is actually how you treated a roof. As long as you have a very big, extensive roof that covers you from the elements, and you have it big and straightforward enough to protect and to express the how you see the building function for your benefit, it's enough to be considered as an Indonesian style. And that's why he actually fled away from discussing the sentimentality, and also how we employ, how we reappropriate the ethnical identity in the architectural elements. That's what I think that's the the strongest point that he made throughout his career, and have been very consistent about that. I hope that can answer your question.
Does. Any other questions?
If I may, I do have a question. First, thank
Yes.
you very much, Dr. Sopandi, for your wonderful story and the amazingly beautiful drawings you've been showing us. That's quite something. If I may, I would like to go back a little bit more to the beginning of your lecture. I've been doing some research in architecture education, so I'd be particularly interested in what is known about his design education in his younger years. For instance, his period, like you indicated, around 1927 in Batavia.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's not so much record about his years during that period, apart from the diploma, apart from what he worked on. I found several designs that he that he proposed for competitions have been published in the in journals, in technical journals in Netherlands, India at the time. And by seeing his works published by the journal, I think he has been building up his confidence and his aspiration as a practicing architect, not only as an assistant to the architect. So I think he's one of the earliest Indonesian architects that have been struggling a lot, very strong will to be a practicing architect in par with his Dutch counterparts, because sometimes he was winning the third or the second prize, competing with even with professional architects at the time. So I think it was very interesting to see his name have been sprouting since the early years. But I'm not really sure about what he did, what kind of work that he did at the time. But he did a lot of work for the Public Works Department in Batavia, probably in Bogor for sure, because he has been spending a lot of his time in helping the municipality of Bogor designing a lot of stuff. And also he managed to find a short time serving in the BOW in Pontianak in a very short time. And I've been seeing a lot of works related not only to designing, but he's also doing a calculation and some services for his clients, not only architectural drawing. So I think he has a very good technical education, very all-round skill on building things, and he managed to collaborate with very good civil engineer, especially Roseno, also a friend of Sukarno, very well-known figure, and also very well-respected figure, not only in engineering but also in Indonesian political scene, and because he was serving as a public works department ministry for quite some time. So I think what the education that he got in the Groningen Wilhelmina School is very is adequate for him to really have a confidence and also to continue, even though I'm not really sure about what he did in Amsterdam in 1949 to 1950. Probably he just sit into the school and listen to the lectures, because I think the Academy van Bouwkunst in Amsterdam offer also a night class for the professionals for the continuing the education program. Probably, I'm not really sure. He just sit in and he came back home with no degree, but he found his dignity and his his confidence to say himself that he's a professional architect in par with his colleagues at the time. So I think there's a very interesting time if we can find some records about that. Unfortunately, we lost his memoir written in Dutch so many years ago. I think one of our colleague lost it somewhere, because it was actually written and typed quite well. Not so thick, but it explains so many things about his childhood until he got into this profession actually. But unfortunately, we're not careful enough to protect that document. But once we find it again, probably there's a lot of things that can shed light to his early careers.
Well,
Thank you very much. That sounds indeed fascinating to hear that he also worked at the Academy in Amsterdam for a year.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
we
yeah.
could find out who were teaching there then.
Okay, very interesting.
Well, let's
Yeah,
hope we
very
find
mysterious for us actually what he did back then. But he mentioned quite a lot about that institution in his curriculum vitae everywhere. So yeah, I'm very interested to know more about if we have record about that.
There is quite an archive from the Academy and a fairly recent book about its history. So maybe we could be in touch and see if we can find anything for you.
Yes. Very interesting. Very exciting.
Thank you.
Always new things.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. You hear
yes,
me?
Please.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you very much, Sopandi, for your very interesting lecture presentation. You described the development in the work of this architect, Tilleban, towards a more modern, even more abstract architecture, in order to avoid certain associations with a style of architecture or parts of the country or people or groups. Apparently, Sukarno liked this style. Do you have any idea about the people? Did they appreciate this development in his style, this modern architecture?
Well, not directly, I think, but most of his projects have been supported by, North praised by Sukarno's speeches that have been widely published and also celebrated and have been in the headlines almost all the time, especially during the 1960s, among other Sukarno's projects, of course. But I think the public have been seeing the Silaban's projects as a patriotic and also very well respected and well accepted architecture, despite of the shift of the aesthetic aspiration during the Suharto era, especially the establishment of the, probably you are familiar with the Taman Mini Indonesia Indah, which has a collection of ethnic architecture in one theme park. But despite of that, also has been well accepted by Indonesian public. I don't think that Indonesian have been changing their likeness of the projects that have been built in the 60s. except probably some buildings like the Gedung Pola, the one that replaced the Proclamation Monument, obviously because of the sentiments. But people have always been in love with the Istiqlal Mosque for sure, and the National Monument, which is actually not by Silaban, the built one, but people still likes to associate the building with Silabans, and is of course is a mistake. But people still love Bank Indonesia for sure, but not so much about the BNI because it has a flat roof, because it's just too modern. But because of this association with Islam, probably with patriotic values, people still pretty much in love and very attentive to whatever upgrades or renovation that happening in the Istiqlal Mosque. But for sure, it's just a very small selection of projects by Silaban. But people nowadays have been revisiting the Silaban project, just like the campus that he designed for Normanson University in North Sumatra in Medan, which actually designed much late in the early 1980s. I think it's one of the last projects that he did. Now people beginning to reacquainted with the projects and trying to appreciate the design and the qualities, and especially the way that he handles the sunlight and also the ventilation system without the use of air conditioning as a very special place to the current society because of the environmental concern, of course. So it began to relieve the love of Silaban's project in recent years with added value at the moment. Yeah.
Okay,
I hope
thank
I answer your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Any final one? Okay, then before I'm going to invite you to have a drink with us, I have some final words, and that is for Kees, of course. This was I said it earlier before, this was a special KNB College Tour. Also not because we would love to hear more about Indonesian architecture, but it was also a subject chosen specifically because we wanted to say our thank you to Kees Zomer for being our editorial board for so many years. He put down the editorial pen a couple of months ago, but we didn't want to let that go unnoticed. So this is our way for our appreciation. Thank you so much for everything and every article you edited and published so beautifully. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Subject,
and it was only 4 years, so
that's many years, Kees. That's many years, and that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of effort, and that should be praised. And I think this was a subject that you would like because you are going to Indonesia. That was
yes, later this year. Yes,
well.
Welcome.
looking forward to that.
You have some inspiration as well.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we well, I never told you, but after a college tour, we have another link that with the speaker and the board we raise our glass, but now we are with a very small bunch of people. So if anyone wants to stay, they're very welcome, and we would like a couple of minutes to chat with Dr. Sopandi about the lecture. And well, you're all very invited. If you are leaving, have a great weekend. Put down the pen in the agenda for the 29th as well as the 14th. And watch the mails closely because it will be a packed year full of lectures and excursions and etc. So really to the email, and we will see you very soon if you would leave now. Otherwise, it's weekend and I'm very happy that the lecture is recorded as well, because that means for everyone that was in the sun, many people, they have the opportunity to watch your story later on as well, Sopandi. So they can watch afterwards. For now, thank you. What time is it now for you? Because it's, of course,
It's 10:30.
right. Is it normal for you to do these lectures later in the day?
Of course not. It's a special moment. I'm happy to do it. So it's pleasure.
Yeah, we were. I
Thank
think
you.
the first time we spoke, you said no, it's even fine until 12. And I was like, that's right.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm happy that we did it a bit before.
All right.
That's nice. So I think it's nice that it was a small group, but I think it's nice that we have a lot of people really interested, of course, in the subject as well. And I love the documentation you had, like you showed the many dias in the when we first started talking, like already at 3:30.
Right.
It's just it's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a
So
pleasure.
many,
Yeah.
May I come back to my question for a second? I ran upstairs to find the book on the history of the academy.
All right. Right.
I tried to look.
Wow.
I didn't find his name in it. Do you have any idea with whom maybe he was studying at that time, or who was
Not at
teaching
all.
him?
I mean, it just appear the name of the institution and the year that he was. I don't know. I'm not really sure that he is enrolled at all. I mean, like there's some photographs about him doing walks and with children, but not really attached to that particular building on the campus. So
And the year was 1949, you said?
49 and 1950.
49 and
A
50.
very short
Okay.
period.
Well, it could be interesting to see who he met then and maybe who he was working with at that time.
Well, I'll probably have to look a bit more closer to whatever I have, and probably get back to you. Just in case I find something new, probably I have missed it somehow.
And I'll look on this side and see if there's anything in the archives here on
Of
him.
course. I try